All right, well, if you've been paying attention, the theme of this show has been March Madness to some degree. So we felt that we wanted to get the conversation keeping going because we debate sports all day in our newsroom. And we finally got a guy who I probably talk to about more sports in the building than most, and that's my guy, Mr. Ezekiel Telemaco. He's a news reporter star here at ABC24 Bostonian, and he joined us in the conversation to talk some bracket talk.
Absolutely. It feels really good to be on the show. It's my first time. And you didn't introduce Ruben. What are you doing?
Ruben's a normal on the show.
I need no introduction.
Look at this
I guess
guy.
the folks know who he is, right?
When the legend's in the building, the legend's in the building. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to do that.
No,
but,
brother.
So Zeke, just for some background, even though Zeke covers news here, you've got a lot of sports in your background. Played baseball your whole life. You played it in college, and then you, again, talk sports all day long. Now, you do have a little bit of that East Coast swing on your sports takes.
Absolutely, but luckily for you guys, again, I don't have any faith in, BC because I don't even think they're in the tournament. So I can't even root for Boston because there's no Boston teams.
So a funny thing, so how I kind of started learning about Ruben's sports takes was this bracket challenge we did last year. And he won, but he cheated.
Didn't cheat.
He cheated. So we all were supposed to put in one bracket. This man put in two to double the odds, and he won. And so our boss was like, you know what? We're taking the title away from him.
Did not take the title away from me.
They gave me the gift card as well. It's like the equivalent of the Houston Astros, when they were cheating and everything.
I can't speak on that. I wasn't here, but I was told that Ruben did something very special for the newsroom. You want to share what you did with that?
So I took my half of the winnings, and I provided food for the newsroom.
Oh, because he cheated.
Because that's the kind of guy I am. Secondly, did not cheat, accidentally put in a second bracket.
Oh, my goodness.
Then our GM came to me and said, hey, you have two brackets in. Which one do you want to go with?
And he picks the one that's obviously doing better.
They were the same at the time. I said, I'll just go with, I didn't even look at him. I said, I'll just go with this one. So that's the one he went with, and that's the one that won. Let me just go on to say one last thing about this, and then you can cry. You can cry in your.
I wasn't crying. I got my gift card. I got my $100 gift cards. I was up $100.
I could put in 100 brackets. You still got to pick the right ones. Don't ever forget that, ladies and gentlemen. You could take 10 tests, but if you don't get the right answers, you don't pass.
Let me get my one shot.
Go and take that one shot with that forehead.
So this is exactly why we're doing this. We're doing this bracket challenge because the goal is to beat Ruben. So that's what we're doing. We're bringing Zeke in the conversation. We're going to give our takes. And so let's get to it, gentlemen.
It's sad that the goal is to beat me. Just be the best version of you.
As long as Ruben doesn't win, I will be satisfied. I could lose. But as long as if he doesn't win, then we're good. So, all right, Zeke,
that's top tier hating.
Yeah,
right?
it
is. I learned from the best. This is the #1 hater in the building, So, all right, gentlemen, let's just kind of go through the bracket. Do we got any upsets in the first round?
Zeke, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think UConn is some frauds. I mean, they lost to St. John's twice, and there's a lot of teams on this bracket or in this sheet that I'm looking at right here that are way better than UConn at the moment. So I just don't see how somebody can look at UConn and say, oh, this team is legit. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Do you guys feel like UConn could possibly be upset in the first round?
No.
I know. Absolutely not. And I'm definitely not calling them some frauds.
Okay.
I mean, not even. I think that might be some internal hate that you have.
I wouldn't say no. That's the closest team to me from an East Coast standpoint, realistically. So I'm not trying to hate. If anything, I'd want them to succeed. If you lose to St. John's twice, and you're UConn, right? You have a crazy budget for NIL. You have all these star players. You would expect for them to not lose to St. John's twice, right?
True. I will say my only upsets in the first round are in the 10-7 matchups.
Okay.
I've got UCF beating UCLA.
I did. I got that too.
And then I've got Missouri beating Miami.
I went with Miami. And I don't like Miami, obviously, growing up a Georgia Tech guy, an ACC guy. I don't like Miami, but I try not to pick with feelings on this one, so I went with Miami over Mizzou. Now, me personally, of course, we got to get a 12-15 in there. So I went with Akron over Texas Tech, and the reason why is because Texas Tech's best player, JT Toppin, is out for the season. And Akron is the best team in the MAC. Obviously Miami, Ohio was undefeated, and they ended up getting the first four, but Akron ended up winning the conference tournament. I think Akron is really good. I'm also liking Hofstra as an upset over Alabama. It was hard to pick against Nate Oates, but I really like Hofstra's story and the job Speedy Claxton is doing over there.
And Alabama's got a little bit of legal problems going on right now.
I mean, I think Aiden Holloway will play once it found out that, it really wasn't
100 pounds.
It was a couple of pounds, but he wasn't distributing. But nevertheless, I have Hofstra. My other upset that I have, I think, you talk about frauds. I think Kentucky has been some frauds.
Yes.
And I got Santa Clara beating them. I think Mark Pope, he's almost a dead man walking in Lexington. If I feel like they get upset and it's not good, then it might be on the out. So, I mean, those were some of the upsets I had in the first round.
So I'll talk about a couple of yours because there's good reasoning behind them, but only reason I couldn't. I still went Texas Tech over Akron just because Tech plays defense.
Yeah.
Hardcore defense. They're going to play defense on anybody, anytime, anywhere. And I agree with you that Kentucky is not the Kentucky of old, but I do have them get through the first round and then losing after that. It's hard for me to see Kentucky losing in the first round in that game. I don't see them going far. I don't see them as the old blue bloods that they were, but I just can't do that one.
Absolutely. But I have a question for both of you. Who do you guys see really being that underdog in this tournament? Maybe you guys have a few. Would you guys like to share some?
Akron. I mean, looking at my bracket, I like Akron. Like I said, I think that they all along were the best team in the MAC. They proved it winning their conference tournament. If they get past Texas Tech, I do think they would beat Hofstra, who got past Alabama. I think they get to the Sweet 16. They're that Cinderella that you like. I also, one upset that I forgot about, I had Cal Baptist beating Kansas. And I know that's a crazy.
That's your boy, too.
But I know, but with Darren Peterson, I mean, now he's got back into the flow. But as you said, Ruben, once he gets into the flow, now the team feels a bit off.
Absolutely.
And Cal Baptist has a guard who, I forgot his name, I'm blanking on his name, but that man can put the ball in the basket. I think he averages like 25 a game. And so you just kind of, you see these mid-major guards that go off and go on the run. We've seen it in the past with John Morant. We've seen it in the past with like Miles Powell, with Seton Hall. We've seen it with Jack Gohlke from Oakland. So I got Cal Baptist getting the upset, but
That's a crazy upset, primarily because first it's not giving Bill Self, in my mind, enough credit. Bill Self is he's a guy.
He is, and I love Bill Self, but it's just that team now that Peterson is actually playing for real. They feel a bit off.
I agree that, so I don't think Kansas, I initially had Kansas in my Elite Eight or Final Four, one of the two, and then I had to drop them out because I don't think Peterson's going to take them all the way. I think he's going to have a game or two where he's pretty good, and then he's going to have a game where he's not so good. And then I think that's what's going to, in my opinion, that's where they're going to have their stumbles and their fall. I don't know that I have a dark horse or an underdog that necessarily is an underdog on paper, but I think they're kind of an underdog nationally, and that's Arkansas, and I have Arkansas going a long way. I think even though they're a 4 seed, I have them all the way, believe it or not, in the Final Four. I just think Darius Acuff Jr. is that good, and I think John Calipari is doing something. He's got something cooking there, and most people just aren't paying enough attention because it's at Arkansas. He's got a whole different level of swag right now than I've seen in the last couple of years. Like last year, he was ready to pull his hair out, right? This year, he's a totally different dude. You can tell he knows his team is good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was going to say, what do you guys think about, or is there any players that you have in mind that you think could take over the tournament? I know that we've spoken, obviously, off the camera on how a guy like Zion or a guy like, John Morant back then, like, you can't just win, especially in college, just by dropping 40 or 50 every night. It's really hard to, but is there anybody in mind that comes to this specific tournament that you have confidence in terms of bringing that team and being the difference that, is between winning and losing?
I think Darius Acuff Jr. is that guy. And I think that right now I think he's playing to prove he's the #1 draft pick. That's what I think he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. Coach Calipari told a story the other day about how Acuff had been walking around with a boot for 2 weeks. And they had told him it was all right to miss a game, basically. And Calipari goes, hey, so you're going to go ahead and skip this game, right? And Acuff says, are you kidding me? I'm not missing a game. And he goes out there and balls out. The dude, he's playing for a purpose right now, and I think his purpose is to prove he's the #1 player in the draft.
I would say A.J. Abanza, honestly, when it comes to him. I know that, people are kind of debating on who's going to go 1 and who's going to go 2. I don't think BYU is going to go all the way to the Final Four, in my opinion, but I think that's somebody who can still he's going to be the #1 overall pick in this NBA draft based on his performance that you're going to see in the playoffs, based on his ability to play defense, his ability to defend all of the positions, and his ability, most importantly, to put the ball in the basket. But what do you think, Richard?
He's a Boston guy, too, so I know
he is a Boston guy.
I know you really rock with him. I mean, I'm going to go something kind of different. I'm going to go with Alex Caravan from UConn. I mean, he's the only player coming back from UConn who was part of those national championship teams. He's one of your examples of a guy who's just a really good college basketball player, but probably won't play in the NBA, and this is essentially the last run for him. And that's why, I mean, I kind of want to segue it to when we get to our Final Four talks. That's why I have UConn in my Final Four. I think Dan Hurley is the best coach in this tournament. He's shown that over the previous years. The only reason they didn't win last year is because they had some hiccups at the end against Florida. But if they had avoided Florida in that tournament, I think UConn would have three-peated. And so now UConn obviously knew what they had to do. They have some really good players over there with Solo Ball along with Caravan. I think they're a shoo-in to get to the Final Four. I think the reason why I have them beating Duke in the Elite Eight is because Duke is dealing with injuries. You have Caleb Foster, who's banged up. You have Patrick Ngongba, who's banged up. That'll be enough for Duke to get through the first 2 rounds, but I think they don't ultimately win it all in UConn. And UConn comes out of that region. What's you all's Final Four picks?
Yes, I really battled with the Duke situation just for the things you just mentioned, the injuries and the problems that could cause. But I'm going to give Shire the benefit of the doubt that he's got a plan, right?
I agree.
He's got something in the works, and I think we're discrediting Cam Boozer a little bit during this conversation because we haven't mentioned him yet. And he's probably one of the more NBA body-ready guys.
He's the best player in college basketball
in college basketball.
Pound for pound.
Yeah, so that guy, in and on his own, has a real chance to put that team on his back. And if you want to be honest, their path isn't horrible. You know, you got to beat Siena. You got to beat probably like TCU or Ohio State. Both those are very winnable games. And then it's probably
St. John's is going to bang them up, though.
St. John's is a tough game, no doubt about it. But size will matter potentially in that game, and then depth, size and depth matters in that game. So I've got Duke, Michigan State, Arkansas, Purdue, Michigan, Iowa State, Florida, Houston.
Okay.
I told you before we came on the air, this is a little bit different bracket for me. I won last year picking strategically. This year I'm picking a little bit more just like, you know, here's who I'd like to see win this year.
Yeah.
Here's who I'd like to see that story play out. So maybe not as strategic as last year, but still picks I think could go forward.
Zeke, who you got for your Elite Eight, and then get to your Final Four?
Yes, no problem. I have Duke. Again, Duke has the star power. They can guard at all 5 positions. And Boozer's hurt right now, but when he comes back, I think they're going to really hit a different stride. You know, I think that Duke has that reputation of choking in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen it with Zion and that team that was stacked that they lost, right? And we've seen it time and time again, even last year when it came to Cooper Flagg not being able to win the big games. But I would say this team is a little different in terms of them having that versatility when it comes to the entire team, not just one specific player. I know you guys are, you know, talking about Boozer, but if you look at that roster, it's pretty deep and they have a really good bench. But I would say I have Duke, I have Michigan State, I have North Carolina as well. I have Vanderbilt. I have Georgia. I have Tennessee. And then I have Wisconsin and I have Gonzaga as well.
So then you get to your Final Four. Who is your Final Four?
My Final Four would be Duke, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Tennessee.
All right, now our director's wrapping us in. All right, we got 2 minutes, so let's get to it. Who do we got as our national championship game, and who we got cutting down the nets?
Ooh, you want to go first, Ruben?
I've got national championship game is Michigan and Houston.
Ooh.
And I got Michigan winning, even though I love me some Houston. I know it's tough, right? I told you I'm doing it different this year.
Zeke?
I got Duke winning the whole thing.
Over who?
I have Duke winning over Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin, again, they live and they die by the 3. It's used to my Celtics ball with Joe Mazzulla when it comes to that.
They don't get past
We won a
Arkansas.
championship in 2024 because of that playing style. Again, that roster was stacked, but I do have a lot of confidence in Wisconsin. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that Duke is going to win the entire thing. It's going to be Duke versus Wisconsin. That's at least what I'm
That's going to hurt your bracket because you're going to lose real early, brother.
We'll see. Only time will tell, right?
My Final Four, I've already said I got UConn in the Final Four. I got Houston, Michigan, Arizona. I got Houston and Arizona in the national championship, which would be a rematch of the Big 12 title. I really want to go with Houston because I love the redemption. They made it to the national title last year. I think they'll get it back again. But rewatching last night, that Big 12 title game, Arizona is just better than them. They cannot beat them. And so I think Houston comes up short again, and Arizona cuts down the nets.
My only problem with Arizona is when's the last time a West Coast team won?
But that team is good. Koa Pete, Braden Burry.
Just saying, that's the history repeats itself. All right.
Oh, and they got Bryce James on the bench, right?
Oh, yeah. He took his warm-ups off just to celebrate. All right. I think that's all the time we got. Zeke, appreciate you.
Absolutely,
Appreciate it.
Zeke.
I had fun making my debut, but I'm sure that this is not the last time that I'm going to be on here.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. We'll check in the coming weeks of who has the best bracket. Remember, the goal, beat Ruben.
If that's your only goal in life.
That will do it for this episode of the 24th Floor. Y'all have a good one. We'll check you later.